All right, here we go. Shawn, here we go.
What's up, buddy?
What's going on, man?
Good. Been too long.
Yes, it has. Yes, it has. We're right in the thick of it now, or at least it feels like we are right in the thick of it. It's only the 4th of August, and I feel like we've been, I don't know what's different about this year. Maybe it's just more investment into it or what, but man, does this year, we're obviously in the same draft going on right now, which is really cool. We'll get into. We've got a couple of leagues that we're doing. So, but how you been, man?
I've been good. Just busy with getting ready to start my 31st year teaching and coaching. So, been going at it for a while. So, getting close to the end.
Yeah.
Well,
good deal. So, what's new?
How about you?
What's new in the fantasy realm? Tell us about your writing and all that good stuff.
Yeah. So, I was, writing for a couple companies, and then, did well. Got nationally syndicated. But it just became a little bit too difficult with taking on the role as head baseball coach that I started. When I was assistant, it's not as much. So I just had to make sure I had, dedicated the time to the kids. So what I ended up doing is just getting my own LLC under my coach's desk handle, and then writing when I can, where I have my own deadlines and fit it in when I can around my schedule, and I have, with my family and stuff. So it's just a little bit less stressful, but I've been picking it up a little bit, just throwing my bits and pieces out there of, something comes to mind. I kind of been jotting it down and writing on it. And then as we get into the season, I'll do I kind of like the DFS stuff. So I'll write a DFS article, a weekly one on the main slate. And then I'll do my weekly college and NFL parlays. I'll write one of those. That's kind of what I was doing for the company. So I'll continue with that. Yeah. But I'm just excited. It's fun to do. It's great, in a perfect world, it'd be great to do this, full time when I retire from teaching and coaching, with my pension coming in and but still obviously we can like to continue working in some capacity, but this would be great to do. So
yeah.
How about you? What's up with you?
Man, my whole story for this year was obviously we're getting into season 2 of the Cognoscenti League.
Yeah.
We've got some really good, we got some great guys. I mean, we welcomed back everybody except for the bottom 3. It'll keep things interesting, and we'll get some fresh blood in here. And we did get a couple of new teams that came in, and that was really just going to be kind of the end of it, was to get into fantasy and maybe do a little bit more podcasting. But the whole thing kind of snowballed when, as we're looking for these teams to come on board. And I just kind of, pepper spray everything with, hey, come and join the second year. We still got a great cast. We still got you. We still got Joe Frick from FSAN. We still got Matt Montgomery from Football Guys. We still got a lot of great guys. And then as the story goes, I've got Greg Kellogg that, reaches out to me and says, hey, here's my phone number. I want to ask you a few questions. Why don't you give me a call? And I'm thinking, this can't really be the guy. But I called him up, and really great, gave me a lot of really great advice on my 45-minute drive home from work, and basically convinced me to go out to the Fantasy Football Expo this year in Canton. And which maybe I heard of it before, maybe I didn't hear of it before. I'm not even sure. But what a spectacular time that was.
I've heard it was unbelievable. I'd love to get out there, but it's kind of like, not to interrupt you, but it's kind of pretty cool because like when you went out there, I feel like all of a sudden things kicked into another gear. Like, you know what I mean? With obviously and then because of you, I was able to get into the HOF league, and then our other league, the Cognoscenti League, is pretty cool. And you got some, you've really been like a go-getter with it, and like included me, which is great. So
yeah. Hey, you know what? And I include you. I don't want to be like, hey, I'm throwing, Shawn a bone. Your articles that you put out there are very in depth. They're very smart. You can tell that you know what you're talking about. And so I don't want anybody to think, hey, you know what? I'm pulling you into these things. You're doing that on your own. So
thank you.
So kudos to you.
Appreciate that.
But it really is, Shawn. If you get the chance to get out there, and I can't imagine a year where I'm not going to go out there.
Having
been out there before. This first year is such a it's such a great community. And you're right. That's what kind of kicked it off. That's what got it going again and got my blood going again, because after doing this for a few years, you start to just kind of get in this rut. This is all it's ever going to be. But you meet these great guys out there. And it's just, it's really rejuvenating, and it's just a ton of fun.
Yeah. And there's obviously some well-established people that have been around the industry for a while, but like when you start doing it, it's weird because before I started to do the sports writing and stuff, you're like, you're following certain people, and you look in their rankings, and then you like, for lack of better words, like you don't think on your own. And then when you start doing it yourself and you start diving into the same data they have, and, using your own experiences, you start to realize that, not to disrespect anybody else, because there's obviously phenomenal people in the industry, but like you start realizing, why can't you do this, or why can't I put my 2 cents into this, or get going? Obviously everybody has to start somewhere. So
yeah, absolutely. So let's get right into it right away. We've got the second year, as I mentioned, the Cognoscenti League, and we're going to be doing that later on. We've got that draft coming up in maybe a week and a half, something like that.
Yeah.
So that's going to be fun. We're going to be doing that live. So anybody out there that wants to get into a bunch of guys who know what they're talking about is really what this league is for. If you're not familiar with it, that's fine. It's only the second year that we're doing it. But really the league came about because I got tired of playing in all of these, jump in leagues where, it's on Yahoo or it's on Sleeper or whatever. And, you got 5-6 weeks in and there's a team that's 1-5 or, 2-4, and they're going, I'm out, I'm done.
Yeah.
Did this for fun. I was looking for more of a serious league, which is why we put this together. You've got a lot of guys out there who tote about being, this fantasy football aficionado, and, they've got all the knowledge and they're going to help you win and all that kind of stuff. The caveat to us is that nobody bows out, because nobody really can. I mean, we make it to the point where, X and on Instagram and stuff like that, hey, we're bragging you up. You're in the league, you're playing with the big dogs, and so that's what it's all about. You can't bow out, otherwise you're going to get called out, and you don't want to get called out to your fan base.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is too, like, even if, when you're playing in any league, you have to, like, you should play to the end, and then because what ends up happening is it throws off. Or you might say, well, this game doesn't matter, but if you're out of the playoffs, you should still set your lineups. You should still actively make sure you're making roster moves, because the guy you're playing that week, he might need the win, or, he might need you to beat that person. If you're playing, so you could play a guy, and then let's say I'm playing someone, but you need me to beat that guy. If I'm not setting my lineup to be competitive, then you're like, that screws over, for lack of better words, other people in the league, 2-3 other people, for positioning down the stretch. So you should always try to be competitive, because you and I know this, for instance, I'm in a fantasy baseball league, which is, I'm able to do it because it's once a week. And I think I'm 3rd or 4th in the league in points, and I'm 7-10. I have the last playoff spot, but I actually have more points scored than guys that have the reverse record of me. But that's fantasy. Like, I've ended up with the hardest schedule, but like, you get years where that happens. I usually balance out. Then you get years where, like, you end up, everybody you're facing that week, they might have a skunk week or a down week or whatever. So it balances out, but you got to just play it through, because you're going to get unfair and you're going to get fair. It's just how it is.
Absolutely. I played in Patrick Pucci. If you guys know who Patrick Pucci is, that's great. If not, look him up, follow him. He's a great source for fantasy football information as well. I played in the Pucci Bowl last year, and I started that league at 1-3. And it was a 12-team league, and there were no divisions. It was the top 6 go to the playoffs. I started off 1-3. And you're not always going to start off great, right? I mean, I had a couple other leagues where it's like, hey, I started off 4-0, 5-0, 6-1. But this one in particular started off 1-3. And this is part of fantasy football. You make trades, you get the waivers, you know who you're supposed to pick up. And I finished the season at 7-7, squeaked in via tiebreaker to get into the last spot in the playoffs. I beat Patrick in the first round. I beat somebody else in the second round. and I made it to the championship game.
Yeah.
So that's just what can happen. So don't give up. I mean, fantasy football is supposed to be fun,
That's
right? And that's supposed to be the challenge. If everybody just went into it and said, hey, you know what, this is the best team and I'm going to draft them and I'm going to, go 10-3 and, get the playoffs and all that fun stuff. It doesn't happen that way. But if you know what you're doing out there, that's kind of where we come in. We've done shows before. Hey, pick up these guys on waivers and look out for these injuries and stuff like that. So, but just to get into a little bit, before we get into like draft picks and stuff like that, who we like, who we don't like on a round by round basis, because I'm going to pull up our Beat a Hall of Famer League and I'll talk about that in just a minute.
I got it over here too. I got it pulled up too. We're
nice.
It's going along pretty good. It started jumping we're in middle of the 12th round, looks like.
Yeah. And so the Cognoscenti League, we got it pulled up right here. Like I said, year 2, last year was fantasy football data. Zach from there, he obviously knows his stuff. He got into the playoffs. He won the whole thing. He beat me in that league too. So I was like the Buffalo Bills last year. I went 0-4 in my 4 major leagues that I got into, and I lost all of them. I went 0-4 in the championship game. It's like, oh, now I know how Buffalo Bills fans feel. But the 4 teams that made it were myself, Fantasy Football Data, Ballers and Briefs, and Fantasy Know-It-All. All 4 of those guys are back. Shawn is obviously back with the coach's desk. We've got, I mentioned before, Matthew Monty with Football Guys. We've got Roll Coverage again. We've got Joe Frick from Fantasy Advice Network. We got Top One is back. The new arrivals to this league, we've got Zach from Fun, and I think they changed their name, Fun Sports Podcast. Used to be Fun Football Podcast, but Fun Sport Podcast. So we've got him on there. Check them out. They're a pretty good listen. We've got B Smoke is our 12th team, and actually he's the only one that has not registered for the league yet. So B Smoke, I've got somebody in the wings waiting to get in here. They asked about if I had any more roster room. So I've got somebody. So if you're listening out there, take your last spot, because if it's not filled by the end of the week, I got a replacement line for you.
Football Guys is really good site. I use a lot because they have something I use is really good at snap counts. Yeah. And then red zone targets, red zone carries, and all that, which is it's a pretty cool stat. Pretty cool site is part of it that you can use for when you're determining whether you want to pick a guy up on waivers or not, because you see how much he's actually on the field. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. One of the top prediction percentages from last year was Joey Wright from Fantasy or from Football Guys too. Met him out there in Canton. He was fun to talk to as well. So they got some great writers, guys that know their stuff as well. So good stuff. Upper right-hand corner of this screen over here, we've got the sports affiliate, and that is where Greg Kellogg comes into play. And if you don't know who Greg Kellogg is, he is in the Fantasy Sports Writer Association Hall of Fame 2010. So we're going to jump into that. That's the Beat the Hall of Famer League that we're going to get into now. So there's my little leeway, or my segue, I should say.
Yeah, we're in pick 12.6 right now as we speak.
12.6. So here's what I want to do, Shawn. I want to kind of go round by round here, and I'm going to see if I can share my screen. I actually have never done this before, so
if not, it's okay because I got the board pulled up on mine. So I can talk off of that. It's fine.
All right, let's see if I can pull up my screen here real quick. Should have practiced this beforehand. There we go. So we are going to share this screen. All right. Do you see it?
Yes. I got
beautiful.
Let me see. I see. Well, no, wait a minute. I still see the Cognoscenti. That's it.
Oh, really? It says that I am.
But it's okay because I can go off mine anyways. So I'm okay. I got the board pulled up. So if you can, it's okay.
That is super weird.
Oh, there we go.
Yep. Okay. Took me just a minute. All right. So here we go. This is great. So that's my screen. And this is kind of where we're at in this league today. As Shawn was saying before, this is the cool thing about this league. I've never done this before. All drafts that I've ever been in are usually drafts that take place all in one sitting. People get around for about, 2-3 hours, however long it takes, and then they're drafting. So this one was set up by Greg Kellogg. This is called the Beat a Hall of Fame 26 League. And there's all your players right up there at the top. There's me on the left-hand side there. I've got pick number 1, and Shawn's got pick number 3. But the fun thing about this draft is that you've got a 4-hour time limit. And there was another pick that was made. You've got a 4-hour time limit to make your pick. So you can kind of see down here at the bottom, it says 3 hours, 59 minutes. KC Concepcion was just taken. He's off the board. But what I want to do here.
Slow drafts. It's great when you don't have you don't have to be in front of you can just get them on the go. I love them. I do a lot of them with underdog and drafters for best ball.
Beautiful. So here's what we could do here, Shawn, and what I want to kind of get into here, since we've got a good, half an hour, 40 minutes, and we'll get as far as we can throughout this draft. So what I'd like to do is pick your brain on why you took the guy that you took.
Yep.
I'll explain why I took the guy I took. And then we'll get into who we thought was maybe the best pick of that round and maybe the worst pick of that round.
Okay.
So you, as my host, go for it, man. You took Ja'Marr Chase with the number 3 pick.
So obviously, Gibbs and Bijan they're pretty much 1-2 depending on what draft you're in. I mean, you could make a case for Chase being the 1.1, and I mean, because that first round, if I don't, I toy with. I try to. In the past, I used to be more like I'm getting this. I'm going running back no matter what. But I mean, at the 3rd pick, I thought the decision was made for me. I assumed Gibbs and Robinson were going to go 1, so Chase. I had Chase queued up right away. I just think that he's. I don't want to take any risk in the first round, because I wouldn't say you can't win your draft in the first round, but you can lose it. If you bomb it on your first round pick, obviously injury aside, but Chase has been pretty rock solid, for the last few years. I'll pull it up here. Last year he was. If I pull him up here.
Yeah, and Chase is
last year, obviously he wasn't Puka. Puka went crazy, but he was wide receiver 4 last year, and then on points per game he was 3rd. He finished as a wide receiver 4. He had 185 targets, which I believe was tops. And then another reason I like him was Burrow being a more conventional pocket passer. I feel like it boosts the volume a little bit more for Chase. You're not going to lose a lot of rushing. So you're not going to lose a lot of targets with him with Burrow rushing. So I just like the all around. I just felt he was more of, I guess, for lack of a better word, safer. But I mean, 185 targets, and even when Burrow went down, Flacco was still peppering him like crazy.
Absolutely.
Year. So, like I said, his 185 targets. I'm looking it up. That was obviously tops last year. 3rd, and then consistency. He was wide receiver 4, but he was wide receiver 3 in points per game. Puka and Jackson and JSN were JSN he had a career year. Obviously, he was on probably just about every fantasy championship team. But, I just like the consistency of Chase. Reminded me a little bit of years ago, when Antonio Brown would sometimes go 1.1 instead of a running back. So that's kind of my thought process. I know I'm a little jagged in my response, but tried to hit all the points. If I'm 3, I'm taking Chase all day. I'm a little worried about the JSN repeating what he did just because the offensive coordinator switch. The offense is different. So, and then Puka's obviously he's lights out. Stafford had a career year. The only other person that I don't think I would have brought him up to 3, but Sun God is pretty solid too. He's pretty steady. Puka is very good, obviously, but he does come with some baggage because if you remember last year, almost every game they were peeling him off the turf, and you're like, oh my God, is this guy done for the season? And he'd come off, he'd come back on, and then he does have a few. He does do some off the wall stuff. So you worry about, is he going to do something to get himself suspended? So when you put all that together, I know it was a little bit of a long-winded answer, but that's why it was with Chase. So for me, it's the 2 running backs and then Chase. And I have done some drafts where I've taken Chase at 1.1.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and for me too, just to piggyback off what you're talking about there, the difference between Chase and Puka for me is the backup quarterback, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's if Stafford gets hurt, who's throwing the ball now?
Yep.
It's
and
not.
He did have a career year. Not that he can't do that again, but like, you have to. It's very rare that a pocket passer goes. Like, I think he was QB. Was he QB1 or was he 3 last year? Let me pull it up here. But usually they get that top spot. It's like he didn't have any rushing, so he finished QB3. Yeah, he finished behind Allen and May last year. But I mean, usually, like Lawrence. So your top 5. Allen, May, Stafford, Lawrence, Williams, all of them have, all of them. To give you an example, Stafford had run rushing yard last year. All those other guys were 350 to 580 and rushing. Yeah. So like the mobile quarterback usually is what boosts you in there. So he has to repeat what he did in order to be a QB3 again. I'm not sure.
Yeah. And
you don't usually see a packed quarterback nowadays go crazy like that.
And maybe we should actually get into, so this league that we're talking about, Beat a Hall of Famer 26, 12 teams involved. The roster works like this: 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 3 flex, a kicker, a defense, and then 8 on your bench. So, and it's a 1 PPR.
6 receivers then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Cool. So picking a wide receiver there, not a bad deal. Stafford threw for 4,700 yards. I think he only did that maybe 3 other times in his whole career. So, I mean, we're talking about ceiling for Stafford there, and it was almost like they wanted him to win the MVP that year.
46 touchdowns, 8 picks, 4,700 yards. Obviously, tremendous. But, he had 1 yard rushing, and that just means like he has to continue that. It's just, you don't usually see that. Not to say it can't happen again, but it's just hard to do that kind of fantasy production nowadays from the quarterback spot without use of your legs.
Absolutely. I had the number 1 pick. I went with Jahmyr Gibbs, and I'm going to keep this kind of quick, I guess. Obviously, for me, it was between Gibbs and Robinson.
Yeah, I was just curious. I'd like to hear what distinguished the two from you. I'd love to hear it because it's a tough one.
Yeah, it is a tough one. The main difference for me, because they're in very similar roles. They both have backup running backs that took a lot of carries from them last year. Yep. They're both great players. Here's what did it for me though. So when you look at Bijan Robinson, he's getting 280 carries per year. He's getting up toward that 300 marker, and Jahmyr is not. So he was at maybe 250. So if you want to call it a little bit more tread on the tires, but I also look at the backups now. So like I just mentioned, they both lost their wingman. And when you're looking at Bijan, well, he got Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson is no slouch. He can still play. Yeah. Well, Jahmyr Gibbs got Isaiah Pacheco, right? And so Pacheco is not going to be the guy that's going to be stealing a lot of carries, maybe short yardage situations on 3rd downs. But I see an increased role for Jahmyr Gibbs this year. So his ceiling is a little bit higher. I feel like Bijan has been at his ceiling for the last couple of years.
Gibbs and he's just like, he's so like, Bijan had a lot of targets last year, but like Gibbs is, he's so potent in the passing game.
Yeah. And then you look at the surrounding cast. Who's got a better quarterback? Well, I would definitely put that to the Lions. Who's got better wide receivers? I would put that to the Lions. Who's got a better tight end? Between Laporta and Pitts, I'm still going to go Lions. Offensive line is probably a little bit better in Atlanta than it is. They had problems in Detroit with their offensive line. I think they've corrected that in the offseason. But overall, I just think that they're going to be a more high potent offense with the tendency to run more at the end of games. What does that mean for Bijan? Does that mean that he's not going to rack it up there? You already kind of mentioned it. He's a great pass catcher out of the backfield. But if they do need to, they can definitely throw Brian Robinson in there. So that was kind of it's close, right? Bijan just got the contract today. So maybe there's a little bit more security there. But we drafted this, what did we start on Saturday? I don't remember what day we started this draft. So, But yeah, Jameer, I'm not too worried about him coming back. I don't think we're going to have some kind of a Le'Veon Bell type of a situation with him. They'll get a
No.
deal done
Yeah, I mean,
probably by the end of
if
this week.
Robinson just got his bag, you would think that then that the dominoes will start to fall because these guys. There's a lot of them. They're just waiting for one guy, and then the rest it'll fall into place. Kind of they slot these in. So
Yeah. So here's where the crap talking starts, right? Who is your least favorite pick in round 1 that went in this round? Don't be afraid to hurt anybody's feelings.
yeah,
Either.
I mean, just because of I do think, and I wrote an article on this. I think Bowers is the best tight end because he's getting Kubiak, that offense. I just thought, I mean, this is picking. I guess he usually goes a little bit later.
Yep.
But I can't even the one that worries me, I should say, I'll say this worries me is McCaffrey because I wrote an article on this last year with running backs coming off. I'm going to pull it up, coming off the big workloads. So
yeah, the rule of 370.
Last year I wrote about Barkley, and Barkley, he was okay. Like obviously he was a consensus pick last year coming off that monster year. He ended up finishing, and I had a bold prediction on it. He ended up finishing as RB14. So was he a bust? No, but he didn't pay off that where he got drafted. So, and since 2003, there's now, including Saquon, there's been 9 running backs who have hit the 400 touch threshold, and all of them posted significant performance dips the following season. Their average finish was RB33. Just throw some guys out there for you. 2012, Arian Foster was RB3. He had 405 carries. The next year, he dropped to RB45. 2005, Shawn Alexander was RB1 with 430 carries. In 06, the next year, he fell to RB30. You look at the most recent, you got McCaffrey in 2023. He finished that year as RB1 with 407 touches from regular and postseason. He never even played that year because I think he ended up going to like different. I think he ended up getting a procedure done, and remember he had the Achilles or whatever.
Yep.
And I was one person who drafted him at the 1.1, and that year he finished RB69. So this year he falls under that same category because of how many carries he had last year, which was he's going as RB3, and he had a monster workload last year. So he worries me the most. I got it right here: 311 attempts and 102 catches. So he only averaged 3.9 yards per carry last year, which is his lowest total in quite a while. So I would say I'm most worried about him. I'm not saying don't draft him, but the data is predictive on that he may fall down.
That's great. That's all great. And I couldn't agree with you more. My first thought looking at the first round was, wow, Brock Bowers in the first. Yeah, that's tough. And you look at that and you go, well, is it?
But he gives you a huge advantage, though, right? I mean, that person, he could have waited till his next pick and probably got him. But I would say, I can't criticize anybody for that pick because
yeah, I mean, you got Trey Tucker's their number 1. They got Jalen Naylor, who's their number 2. He was the number 3 in Minnesota last year. A bunch of guys that are kind of no-namers. They're building that offense. You kind of get that feeling they're building the offense around Ashton Genty, and obviously they went out and got Tyler Linderbaum to kind of solidify that interior part of the line, but it's still kind of a mess. You got a brand new head coach in there. You got either a rookie quarterback in Fernando Mendoza, or sounds like Kirk Cousins is probably going to be the starter. Who do you really trust in that? Obviously Kirk Cousins was in Atlanta last year and throwing it to Kyle Pitts. So he's not afraid to go to the tight ends, but Brock Bowers is probably the best wide receiver or best receiver on that team.
And when I say maybe he was, or maybe 4 picks early, but I got some good stuff here for you on Bowers. So he's supposed to play the Viper role in the Kubiak offense, and which is like they move you around. He's the primary read, and here's some past players who played that role in that offense: Justin Jefferson, Jerry Jeudy, Deebo Samuel, Chris Olave, and last season JSN played that role. And you saw what he did. He had the Viper role with the Seahawks with Kubiak, and you saw what he did. He blew up. He was wide receiver too. So
only make one mistake. So Christian McCaffrey being that guy who's just coming off of a workhorse year. He's had injury problems, and you look at their team right now. I think they had 2 more injuries come out today.
I know.
with wide receivers pulling hamstrings.
And he could go crazy. Like, it's not to say, but I mean, like, he had 129 targets last year. Does he see that again? And he did regress. He wasn't a great rusher last year, like 3.9 yards. He wasn't great rushing, but he had 129 targets and 102 catches. Look, I mean, if he duplicates that again with he had the ball every time. So, I mean, he could, but again, he could fall off with the injuries because just the data has been it's very damning. And I wouldn't say predictive, but it's very damning coming off that monster workload.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, moving on to round number 2, making that corner around. You went and
was basically for lack of better words, an insurance for me. I felt if he started the year on the pup and training camp, I should say not the year, training camp, I felt like, all right, he's not quite there. He did have that second surgery, but I thought it was a good sign that he did not start training camp on the pup. There's videos out there of him cutting or whatever. He looks pretty good. So I figure, and as my wide receiver 3, I mean, he could, and last year he was going as a wide receiver 1. So for me, he's my wide receiver 3. So I just went all in with the running back 0. And I just said, all right, I think I'm pretty safe with Chase. I hope that stays that way, and took risks with my next 2. But I feel like I got 3 guys that are capable of producing wide receiver 1 numbers.
Yeah, they definitely are. Fair enough on that one as well. I like the Rashee Rice pick as well. I think, who did they add in the offseason? Nobody. As far as receivers, they brought back Travis Kelce.
Right.
He looks chubbier.
Yeah, he doesn't look
than normal.
He looks like, yeah.
So that's a concern. But then you've also got probably a lesser mobile Patrick Mahomes this year.
Yeah, you would think he's not going to be as running around as much.
Yeah. No, I don't think that's going to happen. So I thought that was a pretty solid pick. The Neighbors pick, again, I have the same kind of take on Neighbors as I do with McCaffrey. If he comes back, it's a win. You're getting Neighbors in the 3rd round. Yeah. That's a bonus. Even if he doesn't, I mean, looking at that New York Giants team as a whole, who's their number 2? They got Darius Slayton or Darnell Mooney, probably more likely. But wow, haven't we seen enough of Darius Slayton to know that he's not going to be the guy? And then they got a bunch of guys that you've heard of in the past: Calvin Austin, Juju Smith-Schuster. They bring back Odell Beckham Jr. So I don't know what Harbaugh and company are doing out there for the wide receiver crew, but it's almost like, hey, you've got Malik Neighbors, and then you've got, I would throw Isaiah Likely in there as probably your number 2 or number 3 target.
Yeah, and he's a terrific. Speaking of that, he's obviously is like a terrific. Like, if you just like punt on tight end and you end up with him, like if you decide, I'm just going to wait and punt on tight end, he's a great target.
Yeah. So my picks, I couldn't resist AJ Brown falling that far.
And that's, speaking of that, it was between him and Rice for me.
Yeah. Yep. You know what? And it's funny because I did the exact same thing. I just mentioned it before when I had the number 3. I took Rashee Rice over AJ Brown. And then, so this time I've got this pick and I'm taking AJ Brown. I think he fell in the same spot last time. So just to give everybody an idea of where these guys are going, this is kind of where they're going. Much like you, I didn't think that there was going to be that big of a run on running backs. 9 out of 13 picks were running back.
Let the board dictate, all right, I'm just going to go 3 wide receivers here. And then I'll just go upside, try to get some up. My running backs aren't the greatest, but I think they're okay. And I figure, all right, obviously I only need to start 2 running backs. So if I'm going to go heavy on wide receiver, then that's going to fill my flex spots. But if I was in a different spot in the draft, like to your point, well, then like someone started McCaffrey, Henry's, they want robust, but you can't argue with that. Like, he's rock solid. That's a rock solid running back room. That's a lot better than my running back room. But the draft, it's how the draft falls to you. To me, I don't like to pigeonhole myself.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Those two picks are probably, I mean, if you're looking at a running back room that's really solid, that's got to be up there. So I went with AJ Brown because I figured, if Drake May can do what he did last year without really a solid number 1 wide receiver, Still, throw for 4,400 yards, 31 touchdowns. One vote away from being MVP last year. And I'm gonna kind of also include this into my 5th round draft pick. If you look down, I took Drake May. I couldn't not take him with AJ Brown being there. Just to have that combo in there. But
it's a great stack because there's a very positive correlation between quarterback and wide receiver, not just in best ball. So stacking it in seasonal, that's a really good. You get a very good positive correlation there.
Yeah, and even where AJ Brown came from in Philly, right? He had Devonta Smith, he had Dallas Goedert. I mean, there were options out there where AJ. Sorry if I called him AJ Smith, AJ Brown. Where, he still surpassed 1,000 yards. He still had his 7 tutties. And now he's in an offense where he is going to be the most, dominant number 1 guy there. Their other wide receivers are obviously Romeo Doubs, who come over from Green Bay. You got Keyshawn Boutte, that's there too. But I really like the AJ Brown pick. Nico Collins, this is the 2nd time I've taken him in this position here. I'm not sure how I feel about.
I love that pick.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about CJ Stroud, but I do believe in Nico Collins. I think that offense is going to need to pass quite a bit. I think it's a good bounce back year for Nico. So I went back-to-back wide receivers too, and really, like we mentioned before, you're starting 3 wide receivers, and then you got 3 flex, and it's a 1 PPR. So I'm taking 2 number 1 guys in that offense, and I was happy about that turnaround. I'll go first this time. My least favorite pick in the 2nd round, and I don't understand this, is sorry, I'm going to pick on you, Greg, but it's Ashton Jeanty, right? I don't know what I think the value is too high. He went 2-1, and I'm not sure why, because we kind of mentioned it before. He's a great football player. He's a great running back. He's a great, if you're thinking, Christmas Day, this is a beautiful box and it's got the most beautiful wrapping and the bow is great. And it's really cleanly, taped and all that kind of stuff. Now take that same box and throw it on a shaky floor and maybe, have a flamethrower next to it and some swinging knives. That's the kind of team that he's on right now. He's going to be the focal point of a defense to shut that guy down. And what did we see from Ashton Jeanty last year? Not a lot. He was good for a rookie. He put up some decent rookie stats.
Let's see here what he was last, just for the heck of it. Talking about he was running back 11. Okay, yeah.
So
okay,
975
yards, 5 touchdowns, and he caught 55 balls. But again, it's unknown too because it's a different offense, a good offense. But he was not. I think people thought he'd be a little bit better. The 3.7 yards per carry, I think, is a little concerning. But
that's exactly what I was going to say.
Too, maybe.
Now, did he have the best surrounding cast last year?
Right.
Not really. I was never a fan of Geno Smith. I'm still not a fan of Geno Smith. I figured if he couldn't do it in Seattle with the weapons that he had there with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett and JSN, and you got, Kenneth Walker in the backfield, he couldn't get it done there. What was he possibly going to do in Las Vegas with such downgraded weapons? Nothing. And that's kind of what he proved last year too, which is why he's not there anymore. But that was, I think, looking at that, I don't understand the Ashton Jeanty hype. I've seen that a lot in different drafts, and I don't get it. I would take Jeanty maybe end of 2nd round, beginning of 3rd. I think that's all the value is. I definitely wouldn't take him over a James Cook. I wouldn't take him over a Kenneth Walker. I wouldn't take him over a Barkley, a Henry, a Chris Brown. The next 5 running backs that went, I would not take him before any of those 5 guys.
And I will say this: I do like the at 1.12 though. I do like his Jefferson pick a lot.
Oh, Jefferson falling to 12.
Yeah,
that's sick.
I think he's gonna bounce back because last year I can't take credit for this stat, but I'll tell you this: I heard this too. Just another mental note. So last year, I think he had 1 touchdown or something ridiculous. He he had 1. He had 2 touchdowns.
He had 2 touchdowns. Yeah. Barely over 1,000 and 2 touchdowns.
Now I heard this stat too. However, with all that, if he had 4 more touchdowns or something, he would have finished wide receiver 9. So his was just the fact that he had no touch. He just didn't have any touchdowns.
Yeah.
But that's what hurt him. So I don't. Oh, he was, and I do think, yeah, 2 touchdowns. I do think if Murray starts, which he looks better right now, but I mean, I think that's a steal at the 12th pick in the first round.
Oh, for sure. Yep.
Because he could easily. I think that's a great pick by him.
Yep. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, well, definitely. Without a doubt.
Who's your least favorite in the third round?
Let's see, third round. Okay, so Greg's gonna kick me out. I'm not sure. I'm not sure Burden. I think it's just a lot of hype on him right now. I just think right now when you bringing him in the third round, you're buying all the risk. I just think. I mean, and I do like the offense. I love Johnson. I do like Williams. I think Burden. I like Burden a lot. I actually had him got him as my keeper that I had last year. I think I got him in the 13th or 14th round, and we got a keeper this year. So I kept him for a 14th round pick, which is no problem. But I just think bringing him in the third round, I think that's just buying all the risk here. I got a little visitor here, Greg. So, Jeff, sorry.
No, you're fine.
But I mean, I think that's just too much risk for me. I do like Burden. I do like the talent. But I think that's too much risk. So again, I wouldn't say I hate it. I just think that's a little bit suited for him. But he's in a great offense. He could prove everybody wrong. But I think that's just a little bit too much for me. A little bit too much, too rich. I just don't see. I just don't think you get. I think you're buying him at his ceiling.
Yeah, and I tell you what, I agree with you 100%. So I'm going to have to go to my second by default here. My least favorite pick in the third round is George Pickens.
Okay.
I'm not sure what the hype is about George Pickens. I'm not sure if I'm just not seeing it or what. Yes, he had a great year last year. He had the best year that he's ever had. What I remember from last year is the fact that he gave up toward the end of the year. George Pickens, it's not a shocker to anyone. He has a tremendous attitude. He's got a tremendous ego. And, the fact that CeeDee Lamb was out for a few games, he was hobbled in even a couple of games that he was playing in. 1,400 yards, 9 touchdowns. Those are career highs for George Pickens. I think that's as high as it's going to get for him. I think what you're looking for or what you're going to look at this year coming out of Dallas with him is probably 60 to 70 receptions. Last year he had 93. So 60 to 70 receptions, maybe 75 at the most, and he might get to 1,000 yards. I think that's all you're really looking for or looking at with a George Pickens, and that's just not good enough for me for a third round draft pick. If CeeDee Lamb stays healthy, that's what I think you're looking at from Pickens.
And the worry with him is like when he was, I'm a Steeler fan, so like when he was with Pittsburgh, like the talent is all world, but he can fall off the rails. Like he signed they franchised him, I believe. Is he still mad? He signed the franchise deal, but he's so fragile mentally at times. Does that bother him subconsciously that he didn't get the bag? He just got the franchise tag. Le'Veon Bell, same thing. He ended up, forfeiting $14 million with the Steelers when he was on that tag. He did sign it, this guy, but is that going to be a problem for him? Because he's very capable of like just going on the sideline and checking out.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And not to mention that
there.
What's that?
The talent's there, no doubt about it.
For sure. And they've got another guy in Dallas too, Ryan Flournoy, who I think, in his second year last year, 40 receptions, 500 yards, 4 touchdowns. Look out for him. I think he's a sleeper this year. I think he's really put some numbers out there. Great
pick late and he's basically free in drafts.
Oh yeah.
And he could, if he gets any time, he'll smash his ADP.
Yep. Any other call outs from round 3 before we get into 4?
No, I love another one I like in that round. Let me see. Who's that one? I mean, I tell you, another good pick in that third round, I'll say is, is that Devonta Smith? Is that who I'm seeing there? Third pick?
Yep.
Behind the Barkley one. I mean, he's set up to be the wide receiver 1. That's a very good pick. He want robust running back there with Achane, Barkley, and then to turn around and get Smith as your wide receiver 1. That's pretty good. I mean, that volume alone should carry him. The only thing I don't care for is wide wide receiver on the same team, a stack. But that's just that's a really good pick, though. I think that's pretty good value in the third round. He should get volume alone should make that solid.
Yeah, absolutely. So fourth round, we make that turn back down, and you take the man, the myth,
Yeah,
the legend,
so
Lamar Jackson.
again, I've already gone basically RB0. So I kind of think Jackson is going to have a bounce back here. I don't think his legs were ever healthy when he came back at the end last year. I do think you'll see him run more. And to me, I know it's very important to play quarterback from the pocket, obviously, but like if I'm a defensive coordinator and I know Jackson's going to be in the pocket, it's so much easier now. When you add the component with him with running, he's so much harder to defend when you have to maintain your rush lanes and you have to worry about him running. I don't think you saw that when he came back.
No. Yeah, there was
and
something
I think he's going to bounce back, got the new coordinator and all that. I think you'll see more running out of him. I like mobile quarterbacks, because I think that's the way to go in fantasy. And, coming back to me, I just didn't like – I was like, you know what? I'll wait on – I was targeting like Dowdle, Pollard. I was like, I'm just going to go with get the quarterback. Allen's obviously gone way before that. So I like Jackson as the number 2. So I said, you know what? I said, just let me just grab him. And then, I think in the fourth round, I thought that was decent value for him.
I would agree with that. I look forward to seeing what's going to happen there. I think they revamped their offensive line quite a bit. Obviously, they went with Ioane at guard. They beefed that up. Obviously, we've got some issues at center. We're not quite sure who we're going to go with there. But for the rest of it, I think the offensive line is pretty solid. They gave him a couple more weapons too. Mm-hmm. So I think with the new offensive coordinator, and it's almost like a dual offensive coordinator, Declan Doyle comes over, hasn't called play calls before. And then we've got Lombardi that came over from Denver. So it's kind of two minds on the offensive line. I think if they can spread that group out, and now they've done a great job with, they just re-signed Zay Flowers today. Hey, 4 years. Zay Flowers. So congratulations to him. I almost forgot about that. Obviously, we're still waiting to see what could happen with Rashad Bateman and Devontae Walker, but they go out and they drafted 2 guys, Jacoby Lane and Elijah Surratt.
I was just going to say they got 2 really good. They got 2 speedsters, I believe, are like deep threats with that. I think that pairs well. You could see that there's some good things there. I think you'll see. I mean, I think he's going to have a really good year. I mean, if he's on, him and Allen are neck and neck. Like, I think they have the highest ceilings. The 2 of them when they're playing their best. I mean, they're neck and neck every year.
Yep. And for tight ends, obviously we lost Isaiah Likely later on in that, to New York. So it's just Mark Andrews and then a couple of rookies. So we're not, I hope that they get away from a little bit from the 2 tight end set. They spread that field a little bit more. They go to a 3 wide receiver set, spread that offense out, make him think. And if he's got his legs underneath him, even at 90%, that should be a really solid pickup with that 4th pick for you, especially at the end of the 4th. That should be solid. I went with, there's a couple of things in here that are funny, us picking so close together. One of them is this one. I went with Zay Flowers with my 4th pick. He was the best wide receiver on my board. And much like you, I didn't see a running back that I liked without having to reach for it, which, pro tip, don't ever reach for your guys. Some guys will just fall to you. You mentioned it before. Especially in a league where you're starting 3 wide receivers, you got 3 flex. It's a 1 PPR. I don't mind taking another wide receiver here.
No, not at all.
Going 3 wide receivers because who am I going to get? Cam Scatterbo. I thought it was too early for him, and I don't like his mental issues. Quinshon Judkins, was the next running back that goes, and he's in Cleveland. How much work is he going to do? So it was way too far for either one of us to take another, to take a swing at a running back at that point. But I did like Zay Flowers. He was the best one on my board. I've seen him go, late 4, and I was kind of hoping for that. I didn't see him go late 3. So I hope Lamar does well, obviously for obvious reasons, and I hope he's throwing a lot to Zay because he had a Pro Bowl caliber year last year. So,
and to your point, when I'm on the ends of one round or another, or it comes to me in like the 4th round or 5th round. If I don't like the running back or whatever there, I find myself going wide receiver early. Then I've been just taking the good quarterback, like the Allen. If I'm at, the Allen. A lot of times Allen's going in the 3rd. How could you argue with him? Not how could you argue with going anywhere? You could probably make an argument for Allen to go in the 1st round because he's the QB1 every year. He's like crazy with fantasy. But like if I'm down there at the end of the rounds or 3rd or 4th round and I don't like any, I'm just going to take the good quarterback and say I'll just take it. I mean, that's this position that scores the most points.
Yeah.
So I like that you grabbed May because I had a feeling that if I didn't take Jackson, that's another reason I could have risked it. I could have risked it and tried to get him where I got Waddle. But I was like, if I'm Jeff and I'm in that spot, I'm going to probably take Jackson, one of those 2 picks. So that's another reason why I took him.
Yeah, and honestly, you took him, and then I grabbed Flowers, and I'm thinking, oh boy, and it was actually confirmed what I was thinking with that 5th round, starting the 5th round, taking Drake May. I think here's my one thing. That's probably my least favorite pick in the first 5 rounds for myself is Drake May. I see where the other guys went. Other quarterbacks after Burrow. We've got a pretty long stretch there without another quarterback in there. First time playing in this kind of a league where it's 3 wide receivers, 3 flex spots. So I was wondering, like, man.
Yeah.
Do I need to take another wide receiver now? But this draft this year is so wide receiver full. I think that you can get that later on if you're looking in the right spot.
Yep. I mean, I like the again. There's another guy. You got the mobile quarterback. So like that. I mean, he was quarterback 2 last year. He had 450 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns. And he rushed 103 times. That's a lot. Allen had 112 rushes. Hurts had 105 and May had 103. So he was top 3. And if Lamar doesn't get hurt, he's in there too. But that's quite a bit. That's a lot. I mean, it's a lot. Like you get 60 yards rushing for a quarterback. That's a touchdown. That's better than a touchdown pass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In most leagues, it's 4 points. So if you get 60 yards rushing, that's 6 points with their legs and they haven't even thrown it yet.
Yeah, for sure. So sticking with the 5th round, I'm going to go into, or actually 4th round here. I'm going to go into my least favorite pick. And this is not to call anybody out again, but I've seen this in multiple drafts. I'm not sure what.
I lost you. There you go. Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yep.
You broke up there. You said you weren't sure with what?
I wasn't sure with, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can now. Yep.
Okay. So I like him as a wide receiver. I think he's great. They've got Jalen Coker in there. They've got Xavier Legette. They've got some weapons, I guess. I'm just not a fan of Bryce Young. I just don't see it happening. I think their running game leaves a lot to be desired. Chuba Hubbard is not going to be the guy. Jonathan Brooks, I'm not sure what the appeal is with Jonathan Brooks either. He should be going way later in rounds. The guy hasn't done anything. And people are just looking at his college career going, oh, well, he was really good here. He's literally played in 3 games and had 9 carries. So the appeal for me, for anybody on Carolina, is kind of gone. I think Teteroa McMillan is just one of those guys that is not going to flourish in a Carolina offense. And I felt really bad about Brazel. So Chris Brazel is done for the year. I thought he was going to be a dominant player coming out of Tennessee. He would have fit really well spreading out that offense. But yeah, Teteroa, I could see him 5th round. I thought that this was maybe just maybe 1 round too soon for me.
Okay. I mean, I all your points are valid. If just looking at the team, if it's his wide receiver 3, I guess he's not a terrible wide receiver 3. I guess the thing you lean on, and I agree with all your points, I'm not really sold on Young. I guess the thing you lean on is the coaching there. He actually was able, I think, was that last year that they benched Young, Jeff? And then he came back and he was really good, I think, if I remember correctly. Let me just pull it up here. So last year, let's see.
Last year he played in 16 games. The year before that was 14. I think that's when they benched him for Andy Dalton, maybe.
Oh, was it last year? Okay, I thought. All right. So last year, from week 6 on, and they have a very he was a little bit. I mean, he had all right. So here was his fantasy points from game week 6 on. I think he was 18.5 points, then down to 10.5, then 3, then 1.6. Then in week 11 he had 31.8. Week 12, 8.3. Week 13, 22.5. Now you're getting to fantasy playoffs. And then week 15, 15.4. Week 16, 17.6. So to your point with that, when you talk about, there's a lot of people who write about like consistency is also like a big thing. Like that's not consistency from position. So if quarterback's not consistent, it's tough for his playmakers to be consistent. Like he's all over the board. But he does have a good coach, but I mean, it's hard for me to argue against your points. He's definitely has a lot of question marks. That offense is what you worry about, like you said, the quarterback. How many points are they going to score?
Yeah, and people keep saying, "Oh, Bryce Young, he's getting better." Well, I guess statistically, he is getting better. His completion percentage has gotten better over the last 3 years. He's throwing a little bit better, I guess. 23 touchdowns last year, almost combined what he did in his first 2 years.
Yep.
The 11 interceptions still kind of gets me, and the fact that they don't have a solid running game. Maybe if it was different, if he could rely on a running back. I'm just not seeing it with that running crew in Carolina, though. I'll actually be in Carolina this year because the Ravens are playing there in November. So I am actually going to be at that game.
Oh, that'll be it's a real nice stadium, so you'll enjoy it. It'll be probably more Ravens fans there than Panthers fans.
Yeah, I would imagine.
But yeah, he was QB 19 last year, Young. So, which is what? That's a QB2, right? That would be
that's a QB2. That's a ladder QB2, mid QB2, I guess.
A good super flex, a good second quarterback in the super flex. But in a 1 QB league, you don't really want to have to start him.
So looking at the 5th round, I already said I took Drake May. I love that combination of him and AJ Brown. You took a guy that I was actually contemplating because it was between May, Colston Loveland, and Jalen Waddle. But at the end of the day, I had already had 3 wide receivers. I didn't want another one. And Loveland, I thought I could pick up a tight end later on. So you took Jalen Waddle, though.
Yeah.
Tell me what your feelings are with him being in Denver and having to compete with Cortland Sutton.
Yeah. So, again, I looked. So I took here's what I think. I was like, I'm going to grab. So I took a quarterback early. So 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to take a tight end early. I don't like to take both early. I think I don't like the way the roster looks. All right. So I put tight end aside. I didn't care. I said the running backs who I ended up selecting, I took a risk. I thought Dowdle. I was looking at Dowdle and Pollard and not so much Monongai, but Dowdle and Pollard. I obviously need running backs. Those aren't flash. Those aren't like they don't move anybody's needle. But I thought, all right, those are guys that can maybe give me 10, 12 points in a game. So I said I think they're going to be there. So I said I'm going to grab Waddle. He's going to be my wide receiver 4, and then he's going to be a flex for me. But in that offense, in the Shawn Payton offense, obviously there's competition there. But he kind of, with his speed and like his ability for big plays and stuff, I just said I'm going to grab him as my wide receiver 4. I thought that was pretty good value. But I was looking, if there was a better running back, I would have taken a running back there. I just didn't like what was there, so I went with him. That was my thinking on that. No,
that's great.
He gets a big quarterback upgrade, obviously, in Denver with and the offensive. I just like Nix is obviously a very good quarterback. He's done well, but Peyton's done a good job. So Waddle was wide receiver 24 last year. And he's been pretty steady. I think he can be pretty good. And again, he's my wide receiver 4. So I thought that was good value.
Yeah. So the one thing that, before we get away from, the 5th round there, anything that you see in the 5th round that you either want to call out as, hey, I'm not sure about that pick, or I thought somebody got tremendous value with their pick?
Let me see, value wise. Let's take a look at it.
I tell you what, while you're looking at it, the one pick that really shows out to me is Jadarian Price. As much as we have said, we're kind of picking
Yeah,
on
you know
Greg a
what? I
little
didn't
bit.
see that. I would agree with that. And
Yeah.
Henderson next to him, I just don't know because Stevenson there. So I just worry about, but again, but then when you look at the roster, like behind ETN, prices could be a jackpot. There's upside there. So there's definitely upside there. Don't think Charbonnet will be ready early. And then backing up to Henderson, it's his RB3 there. But being that he started with 2 running backs and 1 tight end, and I love the McLaurin pick, by the way. I probably would have went wide receiver over Henderson there. So I'd say I actually like the price pick better than Travion Henderson. I just don't know how they're going to use him because I still think it's a 2-headed monster there.
Right. A couple other shout outs here, call outs during our draft. You picked Rico Dowdle in the 6th round.
Mm-hmm.
I took Jalen Warren.
Yeah, I mean,
I was going to grab one of those guys because we were kind of in the same boat as far as, well, you didn't have any running backs at that point in time.
Yeah, and I had none. I had to get it. I was actually eyeing Dowdle there. I just been reading a little bit more that he's kind of profiling as the RB1 right now. But in a PPR, Warren certainly, he had a very good year last year and he can catch the ball. So
yeah,
I mean, I would either one would have been fine. I kind of just been leaning Dowdle a little bit, but yeah, and I needed a running back, and I thought, again, I don't have stellar running backs, but I think like Dowdle and Pollard offer me some. I just can't I don't think I'm going to put them in there and get 0 from them. I think they're capable of not losing the week for me. I'm going to need my receivers to carry this team in Lamar, obviously.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I mean, your first 5 picks were a good start for that. Anything in particular with the rest of your picks? I saw that you just picked Woody Marks here not too long ago, about a half an hour ago.
So when I start going that far, I love Kincaid, by the way, Dalton Kincaid.
Yep.
I had him last year. His injury hurt him, but I wrote up on him. I did a write-up on him as I thought there was some value in some Buffalo Bills. Like my point with this article I wrote on what the Bills is, I pulled up where we're talking, is if you can't get Allen, you'd love to have Allen, but if you can't get him, you can there's some value in that offense. I thought, I think Moore is going to be the one. I don't think he's washed up yet. I think he's going to bounce back there. But Kincaid last year, just give me 1 second. I'll pull this up. I love him this year. But his numbers, he was on his way last year before he got hurt, and he was never quite the same. And he was someone I was targeting. And since I waited on tight end, I didn't want to wait too long. So I grabbed him. I like him in that where I got him. I don't think it's a big cost. And then
Kincaid, I was going to take him over Ferguson.
I mean, I wasn't sure pick. That I thought he was good value when I got him there. And then I took some upside. Dowdle and Pollard don't offer a lot of upside. Monungai, he was used quite a bit around the goal line there. I think Jaden Reed, the problem with the Packers is you never know who's going off. But as the wide receiver 5 for me, I thought he was pretty good value there. And then my last 2 picks, I need running backs. I took Brooks just for some upside. It's the 11th round, and Marks the same thing. Marks, he's got Montgomery there, but I mean, he showed some flashes last year. Brooks has the talent if he stays on there. I think he's got more upside than Chuba does, but but his leg, I mean, he can't stay healthy. But in the 11th and 12th round, I figured let me take a shot on him because if Brooks gets on the field or gets the snap share, like around 40-50%, he could be flex worthy and he could outperform that 11th round ADP. That was my thinking.
Yeah. No, and that's a great pick too. Like I said, I was going to take Kincaid if he was still there on my turn.
I don't want to play tight end chicken anymore. So I love both your tight ends there. Hey, so this is something I always toy with this, and you did it. And I'm not criticizing. What's your thought process? So like you waited on tight end. Since you're at the end, like if you're at the ends, do you you like the idea like back to back? I like both of those tight ends. You like the idea because then you don't want, because then you have to wait another 20 something picks. So you're thinking, all right, let me just get 2 tight ends and then I'll just roll with those guys. That kind of your thoughts on that.
Yeah, and you kind of mentioned it before too, is I will take in the first 5 picks, it's going to be wide receiver, running back heavy. And then
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
either taking a good value on a tight end, which is typically, I mean, in this draft, it's going to be Bowers, or anytime this year, it's going to be Bowers or McBride. If I can get one of those two guys,
Sure.
depending on where I fall, I'm going to grab one of those guys. And then I'll wait on a quarterback. And it's
Okay.
funny because if you look at what Greg did on the other end, he went Mahomes and Kyler Murray. So he went
Yeah.
back-to-back picks quarterbacks. That is something that obviously I did that with the tight ends. I thought that there was a lot of great value in the tight ends, especially where we were picking at that point. I don't like a lot of the, Rondé Gadsden, Travis Kelce, Kittle's coming off that injury. Kenyon Sadiq, boy, he's going to be iffy
He
too.
just got dinged up today, but they say he's going to be okay, I guess.
So this group of 4 tight ends, that's what I was hoping for. And my 2, I was going to go, if you didn't pick Kincaid, I was going to go Kincaid and Likely. I just love Likely. I don't know why he falls to the 11th round. I can't imagine that people saw him as being overshadowed by Mark Andrews. He's going to play for Harbaugh, so he knows what he can do. He came up, he's a big guy, he's a fast guy. You could probably put him at wide receiver. And the fact that you're the Giants, and we kind of talked about this already, if you've got Malik Neighbors and then Darnell Mooney, and then it kind of falls off from there. There's nobody there. I think the Giants are going to, especially with second-year guy Jackson Dart, they're going to have to rely on the tight end. And they don't have, and the Giants themselves, they don't have another good tight end. So it's not like they're going to be doubling up on the tight ends. Harbaugh's not going to do it. I can't imagine that they're going to do a 2 tight end set. So you're going to see Likely's increase in play is going to go up dramatically this year. I think he's in for a huge year, probably, his banner year. He got paid for it anyway. So I loved Likely coming in that late in the game. If I was going to miss him, I probably would have went with Andrews, because same concept there. 1 tight end now. There's not the 2 tight end split that they were usually doing. But I think Likely, man, I'm going to be so bold to project. I think Likely finishes as a top 5 tight end this year.
Well, you got last year's tight end 5 with that first pick. So obviously, that's a really good pick. Like Fergie was tight end 5. And then with Likely, to just piggyback off your point, you have to, like, coaching changes and all that matters. So you now that's the Harbaugh guy, right? And Harbaugh, he used his tight ends. The tight ends were frequently targeted in his offense. Now, I know he's more of a defensive minded guy, or he's a special teams guy, I think, or defense. I think special teams, doesn't he become?
He was a special teamer.
Special teams, but he's more defensive minded, I think. You would know better than I would, but you could, if you had to. You probably don't do this a lot. You could flex one of those guys also.
Oh, and I probably will
if you had to, when the bye weeks, because some of those bye weeks are killers. So, or if Likely and Ferguson both go off, then you now have someone you might be able to trade. If injuries boil out and someone doesn't have a very good tight end, you now have trade bait. So there's a lot of possibilities with that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Boy, oh boy, we've spent a little over an hour here. So I want to get you back to your family there. Let's switch it up. We'll get us back on the screen. You can see our beautiful faces. Yeah. Shawn, thanks, man.
Thank you for having me. I had so much. I didn't realize how much I missed it.
I love talking football with you. You're so deep in the weeds. You've got the stats. You know what you're talking about. I love this. I wish we could do it all the time. So just let me know what works out.
I'll stay in touch, and be great if we could at least get something once a week or every 10 days or so. But because an hour, we just spent 75 minutes, and it's like, it didn't even feel like we were working.
Yeah. Are we working? This is fun.
This is why I would love to do this for a living someday.
That's right.
I envy the people that do it. So,
that's the end goal, isn't it? So This season, this should be fun. We should probably be wrapping this up. I'm going to plan on doing another show on Thursday. I'm going to try to get this out twice a week. So if you've got any interest, or if you want to, we can talk about the second half of the draft or how things finished up. Let me know how Thursday works out for you.
If not, we can maybe schedule something next week. Again, we could talk the back half, and then maybe get into like who we like at the different positions, like our top, maybe our our must-haves or our sleepers or late round or something like that. Like we always spitball a lot of good topics. So.
Oh yeah. All right, man.
All right, man. You take care. All right.
Thank you so much, sir.
Having me. Yes, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk to you later.
Okay. Take care.